You're looking at a death certificate for a muscle car, a waterlogged tomb of steel and leather. Everyone we talked to, every single expert told us the same thing. They said it was completely, unequivocally unsalvageable. But here's the thing, they're wrong. We look at this car and we don't see a lost cause. We see a ledge has been drowned. We see a challenge. We believe that with us for a passion, this is insurance. But here's the thing, they're wrong. We look at this car and we don't see a lost cause. We see a ledge has been drowned. We see a challenge. We believe that with us for a passion, this is insurance. But here's the thing, they're wrong. We look at this car and we don't see a lost cause. We see a ledge has been drowned. We see a challenge. We believe that with us for a passion, this is insurance.
Before you can dream about the final product, you have to face the nightmare of the present. And let me tell you, this was a waking nightmare. The first step in a restoration this massive is a thorough and brutally honest damage assessment. Before you can dream about the final product, you have to face the nightmare of the present. And let me tell you, this was a waking nightmare. The first step in a restoration this massive is a thorough and brutally honest damage assessment. We started by just opening the doors. The smell that hit us was the first punch, a heavy, damp, metallic odor of decay, mildew, and stagnant water.
The interior was like a disaster zone.
You're looking at what a flood does to a classic muscle car. The interior is a swamp. And when you think it's outrageous to a draw machine, we're going to take this showroom-quality. We're going to walk right. You're looking at what a flood does to a classic muscle car. The interior is a swamp. And when you think it's outrageous to a draw machine, we're going to take this showroom-quality. We're going to walk right. You're looking at what a flood does to a classic muscle car. The interior is a swamp. And when you think it's outrageous to a draw machine, we're going to take this showroom-quality. We're going to walk right.
Before we could even dream about touching the engine, we had to exercise the interior. We grabbed a heavy-duty wet-dry vac and sucked gallons of standing water out of the floor pans. But the real enemy is the moisture you can't see. We ripped it all out. With the interior stripped, it was time for the first wash, blasting away years of grime and thick flood mud. The engine and transmission had to come out. Unbolting the drivetrain from a submerged car is always a war. But after a little perseverance down, the leather seats were dark and slick with moisture. Water is a death sentence for leather, so we started wiping them down, trying to absorb the surface moisture before it could do more damage. With the doors and trunk wide open, it looked like a crime scene.
The real fear, the thing that keeps you up at night on a project like this, is the damage you can't see. We publicized backstick our hats to Frank to trace the police range to cool it, might pull forward down and rebuild. Then we checked the engine oil. We held our breath as we unscrewed the drain plug. As the first trickle of old oil came out, we saw it, distinct shimmering water droplets. It was confirmation of our worst fears. The entire electrical system was one giant question mark. We looked under the dash and saw a rat's nest of still damp wires. This wasn't a restoration, it felt more like an archaeological dig. Maybe this car really was unsalvageable. There's a point of no return in every build. And this is it, the teardown. This is where you commit. You strip away every single piece until you're left with nothing but the car's soul. Its bare metal chassis. Next, we tackled the dashboard and the wiring. This is a frustrating process on a good day. Connectors that should slide apart are seized with corrosion. Wires are brittle. We took hundreds of photos labeling every connection. Carefully pulled the entire dash out as one piece. We drained the contaminated fluids. The coolant looked like pond water. We yanked the old oil filter right away. Getting the engine out is a huge milestone. It reveals a whole new set of problems. With the hoist in position, we carefully lifted the whole power plant out of the engine bay. The moment it cleared the fenders, we could see the full extent of the grime. We popped the transmission pan off, confirming our fears. This transmission needed to be completely rebuilt. So here it is, the V8 that once gave this car its soul, now sitting on a stand looking completely defeated. The number one rule with a flooded engine is simple. Don't even think about trying to start it. Water doesn't compress.
Now, with the car as a bare rolling shell, we could finally deal with the foundation. We began the disgusting but necessary job of scrubbing the entire underside with car wash soap and warm water. Finally, we could add some protection. We took a grease gun and hit every Zerk fitting on the suspension, forcing out any trapped water and providing new lubrication. Standing back and looking at the completely disassembled car,
the first test, is it seized? There was a moment of resistance and then it moved. The engine wasn't locked up. This was a massive win. We had a fighting chance.
This is where science and soul collide. Reviving a waterlogged engine is a delicate, nerve-wracking process.
Come on, hold together. It's a bang! We cranked the engine by hand to work in the oil and push out water. Next, a full-scale fluid transfusion. We filled the crankcase with cheap oil. We'll run this as a flush, then drain it for the good stuff. The electrical system was our next great hurdle. We had the main harness laid out on a giant table. Every connector was sprayed and scrubbed to remove corrosion. Once confident, we carefully fed the harness back into the car. The first test, is it seized? There was a moment of resistance and then it moved. The engine wasn't locked up. This was a massive win. We had a fighting chance. While the engine was being prepped, the transmission was undergoing major surgery. We carefully disassembled it layer by layer, clutch pack by clutch pack. Each part was meticulously cleaned and inspected. We replaced all the seals, gaskets, and clutches. Now, the moment of truth. With a new battery connected and a fire extinguisher handy, we were ready for the first start. We primed the fuel system, listening for the hum of the pump. I climbed into the bare metal shell, sat on a milk crate, and turned the key. The engine cranked and cranked and cranked. Nothing. My heart sank. We checked for the big three: fuel, spark, and fuel pressure. We had a strong blue spark. Compression was good. So why wouldn't it start? A bad sensor.
First, we had to get rid of the old, failing paint using a combination of chemical stripper and mechanical sanding. As the layers peeled away, the car's history was revealed. More importantly, we uncovered the true extent of the rust we had to fix. With the car in bare metal, the metal work began. We cut out sections of the floor pan and welded in new patch panels. Then we used a hammer and dolly set to meticulously work out the dents. For minor imperfections, we turned to body filler.
Engine flushed, transmission rebuilt, time to bolt them together. Lowering the powertrain in. This is the first big step. Now reconnecting mounts, drive shaft, cooling, and fuel. Everything secure, ready for the next phase. All right, let's check this fuel pressure. See the spike? That's the problem. It's surging. We got to replace the regulator. I'll grab a new one. Be right back.
Then came the most laborious part, sanding. And more sanding. And when we were done, we sanded some more. We started by shaping the filler with coarse 80 grit sandpaper on a long, hard block to get the panel free. It feels like you're a sculptor, slowly revealing the car's true lines. Once we were happy with the shape, we sprayed the entire car with several coats of high-build urethane primer. This protects the bare metal from flash rusting and is thick enough to fill the tiny scratches left by the initial sanding. Finally, the car was ready for its final sanding. We smoothed the primer one last time with a fine 800 grit sandpaper to get the surface as slick as glass. We rolled the car into the paint booth, masked off everything, and gave it one final wipe down. Laying down a perfect paint job is an art. All the hours of grinding and sanding come down to these next few moments. This is the step that transforms the project into a stunning car. The secret to a deep, lustrous paint job is to build it in thin layers. You don't just blast on one thick coat. The right way is to apply several thin to medium wet coats, letting each one runs and results in a more slavable, durable finish. We started with the roof, then moved down the pillars and worked our way around the car, one side at a time, before finishing with the hood and trunk. You have to find a rhythm, a smooth flowing motion. The first coat of color went on and looked okay, a bit blotchy, but that's normal. After the second coat, the color started to come alive. By the third coat, we followed with several coats of high-gloss clear coat. After the clear coat cured, the car was shiny but had a slight texture, like orange peel. To get a perfect finish, we sand it one more time with ultra-fine grit sandpaper and water. It's terrifying, but this is the secret to a show car finish. After the clear coat cured, the car was shiny but had a slight texture, known as orange peel. To get a mirror-like finish, we wet sand it with ultra-fine grit paper and water. Scary to sand a new paint job, but it's the secret to a show car finish. The surface is flat but dull. It's time to bring back the shine through polishing. We start with a wool pad and coarse compound to remove fine scratches. Next, a foam pad and glaze remove any swirls. Finally, Carnauba wax protects the paint. It's flawless. While the paint cured, we restored the interior. The dashboard was scrubbed and treated. We installed a brand new carpet, sound deadening, and a headliner. The seats, which we feared were a total loss, were sent to a professional upholsterer who worked miracles. Inside, the smell of mildew is gone, replaced by the scent of new carpet and fresh upholstery. The dashboard is alive. It's a live light. But a car like this wasn't built to sit still. The real test is the first drive.
Climbing in feels completely different. It's a machine. I turn the key, and that glorious V8 roars to life. I put it in gear, and the rebuilt transmission engages with a solid clunk. Looking back at the photos from day one is almost unbelievable. It's hard to believe this is the same car. We took on a project test and skepticism. We poured our heart and soul into every nut and bolt. We proved that unsalvageable was just an opinion. With enough passion and a refusal to quit, you can bring anything back from the brink. This car is a testament to that, Cole. What's a Simbat?